Hello everyone, you're very welcome to this module. This module is entitled Introduction to Data Protection and Privacy Awareness. As you know, this is one of the modules that we've been scheduling during the day as part of the Key Contact Centre Skills Programme. Again, I know that some of the attendees at this course have not dealt with phone calls previously, and again, some of those skills are what we're trying to get through today. The basic overview of skills, dealing with a customer, how to speak to a customer, how to deal with an online application, etc. etc. Of course, one of the modules that we listed for consideration and for review today is Introduction to Data Protection and Privacy Awareness. So if I was to ask anyone in the room, what is data protection and privacy awareness? I'm sure you have an idea of what data protection is. It's become a very popular topic over the last few years, especially, where we've all become so much more aware of our personal information and how it's transferred and how it's handled and how it's reviewed and basically kept safe. So again, the aim of today's presentation is to give you an introduction, just a flavour of the data protection and privacy awareness in a call centre environment when you're dealing with customers' information over the phone. Okay, the agenda that we've set today is we're going to look at why is data protection so important, the common ways of storing data, removing some common myths, what goes wrong regarding data protection, understanding your own responsibilities and the responsibilities of some others, and finally we'll take some questions. Sorry, Brad. Okay, so why is data protection and privacy awareness important? Why is it so important? Well, again, the first thing that we have to remember is that customers and clients expect us to look after their data. As a customer, any customer wants to feel that, and I'm sure that everyone here will feel the same thing, they would want to feel that their information is secure, it's safe, it's being handled correctly. Again, the next point would be that any business is built on being a trusted partner. We must make sure that we're always giving that feeling, that sense of security to our customers, that if they're being dealt fairly and in a trusted environment all the time. It's essential, because if not, it's a business is built on its reputation, and if reputation goes anywhere wrong in a current climate business environment, it could be very damaging to a current business, any prospects of new business coming, and that bad reputation can easily spread, and that is something that you want to avoid absolutely at all costs. Why is it so important? It's important from a legal point of view. There are very strong local and international laws that require organisations to handle data safely and securely. And of course, there are serious consequences for failure to look after data. And what we will do is, in a few minutes, we'll go through a couple of those examples of the implications and what can happen if data is not looked after securely and safely. So it's very important that we take the right steps to ensure that it is. Of importance, privacy is a fundamental and valued right of every individual. We want to have our information, our private information, we want to have it kept safely, we want to have it, we want to know that that information is being treated carefully, it's being retained carefully, if it's been shared, who's been shared with, are we given the permission to share that information? If information is being transferred, we want to know that it's being transferred in a correct manner. Again, it's very important that we can't emphasise enough the importance of data protection and the awareness of privacy. Privacy is a very key part of any business and any individual, and we have to make sure at all times that we're always compliant with that area. if I was to ask anyone what the common areas and methods of storing data, people might say on a PC, which is true, but there are other ways. People mightn't remember or mightn't think of paper. If paper records are kept in a filing cabinet, that's data. Of course, if it's on a computer, that's data. On a USB stick, on any hard drive, those are all, if data is kept on those, it can be kept there as well. If you're working at home and you have access, maybe some people have access to a laptop, they bring the laptop home. You're bringing data on the laptop, you're bringing it home. Again, that's another way of storing data. And personal email. Personal email is also another way. So again, there are various different means of storing data. Data is flying around constantly in different forms all around us in every moment of the day. So it's very important to remember that it could be in every different area of our life, in our home, at our business place, and it's very important that we take the necessary steps to protect ourselves regarding the data and how we treat that. Okay. Right. Now the next slide, this guy with the picture of him being very smug, is to look at what's the biggest risk. The biggest risk when you're talking about data protection is that it will never happen to me. Everyone thinks that. It thinks that it's after happening to a big company, it's after happening to someone that they know, it might be after happening to someone in a different country, and it won't happen to themselves. And that's a very dangerous understanding, because it can happen to anyone. It can happen to anyone. And the examples I'm going to show now, which will show that it has happened to a lot of areas and a lot of businesses that you will be familiar with. But again, the important thing to remember is don't take for granted. Don't be smug. Don't think that I'm okay. It never happened to me. It can happen to anyone, and invariably it has happened to people over the years. Okay. There are also some common myths, and I'd like to debunk some of those common myths. Some of those myths that would be held by a lot of people would be customers' data held is too limited and of piecemeal to be of any value to fraudsters. That's not true. Only large firms with millions of customers are likely to be targeted. Again, absolutely untrue. People think that it might be only the big companies, the big names in the world of business that fraudsters would target or be interested in. Absolutely not. It could be anyone. Absolutely anyone. And increasingly more and more people are getting calls at home, be it on their telephone accounts, people looking for data, people looking for credit card numbers. Again, it can be anyone. Individuals are targeted as much as multi-million-dollar euro businesses. Another myth is that the main threat to data security is from external sources. Absolutely not true. A threat can come from anywhere. It can come from an external source, it can come from an internal source. It's everywhere. You have to be constantly aware and vigilant of what's happening with relation to data protection and data, handling of data. Another myth is that no customers have ever alerted us to identity theft, so we must be resistant to it. Absolutely false, absolutely untrue. And the final one is I don't work in IT, so I can't lose data or stop it being lost. Again, that's say that only people in data have control, or sorry, only people working in IT have control of data, and they're the ones that can look after it. Absolutely not. It's again, these are all myths that people think. Some people, again, only some people think that if you work in IT, you're the people who control the data. That's not true at all. It's everywhere, as we saw. It could be on home, personal, computer, USB sticks, laptops, individual laptops. So we have to be constantly aware and vigilant. So again, there are some myths out there, and I just want to debunk those because they're not true, and everyone needs to be aware of it. Because if you're aware of the implications of how data can actually be disseminated and shared and transferred, it's much easier to be aware of your responsibilities when dealing with it. Okay, some examples of data loss, just bring it to a local perspective. Some examples in the IB. Bank records were found in a dump outside Cork City. Again, How did I get there? Why did I get there? Again, that's clear breach, violation of data protection, of not handling data correctly. Shouldn't have happened. Going to police, they mistakenly sent a journalist a spreadsheet containing 10,000 criminal record details. Again, a lot of criminal records, 10,000, but it's gone over maybe last 10, 20 years. Again, sent to a journalist. Again, should have happened? No. Was it a mistake? Absolutely. Human error can happen. But we need to be vigilant. We need to be extra vigilant. We need to be really careful when we're dealing with data. Always be vigilant. Always be vigilant. Know what's happening. Be careful. Especially when you're dealing with people's details, people's confidential material. We need to be vigilant. In the UK, there was a last CD. Some people may have heard about this in the newspapers. There was a last CD where 25 million child benefit records were lost. They were eventually found, but again, we don't know where. People don't know where they were. I suppose for those weeks until they were recovered. And Nationwide, Building Society, they lost a laptop from an employee containing 11 million customer details, and the investigation lasted 3 weeks later. I'm sure everyone would be worried if they knew that their data was lost, and especially how long it took for the investigation to begin. But again, who was open to looking at those details, who had control of those details when they were lost? Again, maybe nobody, but then again, it's always the possibility that it might have fallen into the wrong hands, into fraudsters, into people who will use it for different motives. And it's something that we need to be careful of. Okay, when it goes wrong, there are different sanctions imposed on businesses, especially when data protection goes wrong. There are offences, there are sanctions, there are audit powers. For example, under sanctions, penalties can be imposed up to £500,000. In Italy, fines and imprisonment up to 3 years can be imposed. There are audit powers to audit. You can have dawn raids. Companies can be investigated for their compliance to make sure that their data protection duties are being followed through. So again, it's taken very seriously, and in any business place, there should be an ethical approach and the correct approach to how to deal with data protection, and any legitimate and correctly run business will have those in place, those standards in place. Okay, understanding your own responsibilities is critical. You have the responsibility for good data practices. Can't emphasise that enough. It's very important that everyone understands that you are the person who has the initial control, not IT. It's you. If you handle it correctly, things do tend to run more smoothly. We set a good practice, we set a good work ethic, and once it's done correctly, you're the person who has that initial control. Do the right thing. Okay, your responsibilities, again, when you be on the phone, you have certain responsibilities which we'll go through different modules, of course, but you will have adherence to a data protection check when a person phones up. Make sure it's a legitimate person that you're dealing with. On the phone call, that is the correct policy you're dealing with, and only the policy holder. That the tidy desk policy is enacted, that there is not confidential material, account information left written down that someone can take up and share. That should never be allowed to happen. Again, whoever needs to remain vigilant, to any suspicious activity, potential breaches. And again, there's a confidential hotline in place in this company. So again, if it's not through your line manager or your team lead, I would suggest go to the team manager, but there is a confidential hotline if you think there's anything suspicious. Again, I would encourage everyone, even though some people will say, well, it's not my responsibility, I would encourage everyone that it is your responsibility to be vigilant, to bring any potential risks to the attention of your manager, that it can be addressed. And of course, highlighted in yellow, again repeating the same message that I'm trying to get across for the last few minutes here, is that you have to take care in handling the data, whether it's customers, clients, and again you have to remember, is it adequate? What you have is adequate. Do we need to ask for more information? If we don't ask for it. Is there relative? Is there a relevancy to it? are we being sensitive and getting the consent of what the information that we're looking for? And overall, we need to look at the security of it. Is the information that we're getting back, is that being secure? Again, I know that this is something that will be driven by compliance department, by managers, but again, it's something that you as agents will all need to be aware of and to be very much pushing as well in your day-to-day work life. Okay. And I suppose the last point there is very important to approach as if it were your own data. Okay, managers and team leads, most important line there is the top. You have to lead a culture from the front. Again, while agents will have their own responsibilities, your team leads and your managers will be leading the push for data protection, privacy awareness. They will be definitely pushing to have everyone have the correct systems, controls, making sure that there's an ongoing review of data, of security right across the department. So again, keep in mind, be proactive, push your manager, make sure that any breaches are brought to their attention, and we'll all work on this together. And that's it, just like that. And I'd like to thank everyone for their time and attention. You're very kind to not interrupt me when I was doing the presentation. I'd like to offer or open the floor for any questions now if you have any. No? Okay. Well, once again, I'd like to thank you all for your attention today. It's a very important topic. I hope you'll all take it as seriously as or take note of it, and we'll get much more data protection awareness running through the entire business, which is it's of benefit to all of us and our customers. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you.